Right, welcome back. It's just not stopping with the bad news in this country, and a fire has now devastated parts of the Joe Slovo informal settlement, eNCA. It's understood the fire has been raging for hours. About 300 shacks are believed to have been burnt to the ground. Fire and rescue services say the fire was reported just before 6 p.m. last night.
Well, so for more on this story, I'm joined now by Cape Town's Fire and Rescue Services spokesperson, Jermaine Carelse. Jermaine, thank you so much for your time this morning. I can imagine that it's been certainly a busy evening for those that have been fighting that blaze. Can you just take us through exactly what happened and just bring some context to this conversation?
Good morning to you, Faith, and your viewers. Yes, this fire occurred just about, we received the emergency call at about 5 to 6 last night. I was actually in the Belleville area and I could see the smoke billowing from Langa's side. The first officer that had arrived on scene, he was from Epping Fire Station and immediately called for more resources. And this section that burned was the Joe Slovo informal settlement, and that would be close to the eNCA. And that would be like a point of interest would be Winnie Mandela Way and Blue Gum.
Do we know what the cause of the blaze was?
The cause of the blaze hasn't been established yet. There are people still on the ground. I would assume that would be disaster risk management. And as Moreno alluded to earlier on, our first estimate would be about 300 informal structures that were destroyed. But disaster management will have a post-assessment, and then the correct count will be brought forward.
Just in terms of, I mean, some of these 300 shacks being destroyed, do we know if any lives were lost, if any injuries occurred?
Luckily, no one was injured or any fatalities were reported. But I must stress the difficult circumstances that the firefighters worked under. We received numerous messages where certain members of the public actually slashed or cut the fire hoses. That actually prevented the guys from extinguishing the fire and actually put them at risk also, because while they're in front of the fire trying to extinguish this blaze that's running towards them, and then they found out that there's no water. So that was a big concern. Although we had, so this is our African Police Service, law enforcement and Metro Police on scene. That was done by certain members of the community.
Jermaine, I want to labor on that point a little bit further. You're saying that the reason why your team couldn't get to actually quell the fire efficiently is because some members of the community slashed the fire hoses. I cannot even begin to understand what the reason for this is. Was it because of just criminal elements, random elements? Or is that pointing to some kind of cause of the fire? Because if you're going to slash the very same thing that is supposed to assist in fighting the fire, it leaves one questioning whether there was a motive behind this fire in the first place.
Yes, Faith, that's not uncommon in our line of work. That has occurred on several occasions, and it was extremely difficult for the firefighters to extinguish the blaze, being prevented by, as you alluded to, certain criminal elements of the community itself.
Sure. Just in terms of what the status is right now on the ground, have you managed to completely extinguish this fire? Are firefighters still fighting it? And how are the firefighters doing this morning?
Well, the blaze was extinguished around about 12 o'clock last night. The guys were sent refreshments, obviously liquid and perhaps solid refreshments, because that was a long shift that they put in from 6 o'clock until about 12 o'clock. That's about 6 hours. And obviously after that, they go back to the stations. Remember, we still work at 24 hours. And when they get back to station, they are still called out to other emergency service. Those guys that were on duty yesterday only go off duty at 9 this morning.
Yeah. Jermaine, around this time especially, certainly in the high veld and I'm sure even in the low veld, we do understand that there would be fires breaking out, particularly in some of these shacks because of, whether or not some gas got leaked or whatever reason it is. Shack fires are common during this time of the year. From a resourcing perspective, how are you guys standing to be able to respond consistently to some of these calls? It is the month where it gets colder, and we know that as it gets colder, we do see that there are more fires that we can expect.
Yes, Faith, with our resources also, we have an education program with our fire and life safety section as well as DRM. They go out to the informal settlements or the hotspot areas that we can identify if you take the data from where the fires occurred over the last few years and the present trend, where they educate people about the safety of with the matches, with the gas, what measures to take, and especially the emergency number, because we find a lot of people still phone 10111. But with the city of Cape Town, we've got 32 fire stations. I mean, we are well stocked, if I might use that word, well stocked with resources and manpower. On any given day, we will have approximately 240 staff members and 32 fire stations open for all emergencies, covering the entire city of Cape Town area, or the boundary within the city of Cape Town.
Yeah. Jermaine, I know that it's been certainly a very long day for all of the firefighters, and I'm sure a very early morning as well that you can expect. We'll let you go for now, but thank you very much for your time this morning. Fire and Rescue Services spokesperson Jermaine Carelse just telling us a little bit about that fire that broke out at about 5 p.m. Yesterday. About 300 shacks or so that have been affected as a result of that.